Is it a bad time to point out that I don't speak man-child? So, since this is just audio that you guys are listening to, or even, there's no visual aid to this whole situation, and more likely none of you are probably going to give him the view, which, good for you. Onision, at this point of this video, is, pointing the camera at his crotch, where it looks like there is a coffee stain. I'm assuming coffee, but he's trying to make it out like, oh, he pooped his pants, which, either that or pee, but either way, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a coffee stain. But really, who gives a shit anyways, because after all, this is the incredible and original content from Greg.
Wrong!
And just like that, a quarter of my brain just shut down. And now it immediately jump starts because I realize that there are actual people that pay attention and actually follow this creep. And at this point, because of you people kissing his ass, you have perpetuated this behavior. All of this is on you. Not to mention the money grubby fucktards in the YouTube elite.
My brain hurts! I just repeat again!
What the fuck?
Now, unfortunately, I have to point out the irony when it comes to videos like this, because he ends up titling them The Last Video, which, man, Onision, sorry, Greg, because I keep forgetting I'm just calling you Greg from now on. You are getting lazy when it comes to your video titles, just using 1 to 2 to 3 words with your video titles, not really being descriptive at all. If anything, you're being very clickbaity, which, by the looks of it, it looks like that's not even working for you anymore. Wish you would, grow a pair and actually decide to, suck it up and change. But you don't, and you're making the same content over and over. Sorry, the original content, and I'm using quotes, over and over and over and over again. And again, it's ironic that you make videos like this titled The Last Video when, once again, you go to another channel because you think that people are stupid and upload a really bullshit video.
Sup? Want to give you all some life advice?
Greg, I'm pretty sure nobody wants life advice from the guy that's being investigated by the FBI, as well as their spouse, for being a manipulative piece of crap that groomed a 16-year-old for sex. And in case anybody was wondering, no, I'm not going to let him live that down.
Oh my. Life advice, because I think I'm a good person to ask about life.
You serious?
That's kind of excessive to use a blowtorch for a single cigarette. Also, to answer another question, yes, for those who are kind of curious and probably have heard about this video, he's literally lighting a cigarette, more likely just the paper, and it's probably filled with regular paper, and is lighting it and smoking it. Unless, of course, he's smoking an actual cigarette, by which that probably means that the internet itself has broken his mind and his spirit.
All right. I'm not very used to cigarettes.
Clearly you're not.
Okay. So, you don't do things for people because you think it'll make them happy or whatever. Because when you do that, you're just getting used.
Oh, here we go.
You are playing yourself. When you do things for yourself, you will find that you are far happier and therefore can make other people happy.
What? What the fuck?
For instance, let's say you are sitting alone in your room playing video games, and somebody says, "Can you do the dishes for me?" Is that gonna make you happy?
No. And I think anybody can agree that doing dishes isn't going to make you happy. It's a mess that you have to clean up. And that's actually the biggest thing, is if you took part of that mess, then guess what? You have to help clean it.
No, it's not going to. But do you get free room and board? No? Oh, then don't do the dishes.
Are we talking about kids? Is he like trying to talk to kids at this point? Or adults? You know, it doesn't help that he's always vague with who he's actually trying to talk to give advice. Because let's face it, if you're a kid and you're doing chores for your family, for your parents, in a sense that's building structure. They're giving you a responsibility, and if anything, they are hoping that will build character, hoping that will give you a chance to prove yourself with certain responsibilities. Kind of like how you do a job and you're given the responsibility to do that job. If you can't do that job, then what's the point of you being there? And I have to point out again that, including with something like dishes, if you make part of the mess, you should have the common courtesy to help clean it. And that's the biggest thing about this whole conversation, is common courtesy. A concept that, unfortunately, Onision, Greg, never learned when he was growing up. Probably because his mother was a creepy individual who never taught him anything.
They're not doing anything for you. So why would you do something for them? Because they demand you to.
I have to ask, when did somebody asking you to do something automatically jump to them demanding you to do something? You know, you really got to word yourself a little bit better when it comes to you making, or at least giving your quote-unquote examples for your topics or your advice.
The important thing about life is that you constantly satisfy yourself. Constantly pleasure yourself.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready?
So I couldn't decide which clip to use with this particular statement, but let's be honest here. That was both of my reactions of hearing Onision Greg say that. Yeah, and my only question is, how well has it worked out for you to constantly, quote-unquote, pleasure yourself? You have a ton of women that hate you. You're now in legal trouble with the IRS, as well as the state of Washington for destroying wetlands. And you're also being investigated by the FBI. You and your spouse. Okay. I'm pretty sure that is not the best advice, especially coming from the guy who is a creepy, manipulative little shit.
If you do that, what you're going to find out is that you naturally want to please other people the more happy you are. You're going to come off as more genuine when you smile because you are here to service you. You want to please you. A lot of people, a lot of losers, will find themselves constantly trying to please others. And they'll be like, why does no one love me? Why does no one like me? Why am I such trash? Why am I so pathetic? You're so pathetic because you think making other people happy is what will make them like you.
I kind of find this ironic that this is coming from, an individual who is a content creator, somebody who ends up having to make content that pleases people. But at the same time has also used that, has used his YouTube channel, his influence, to do some really shady shit.
People will worship you and love you and adore you based on how much you service yourself. Because how happy you are will be infectious. How satisfied you are will be contagious. When you're doing whatever you want, a lot of people will want you.
I have to disagree. I feel that people will like you ultimately if you're a kind person to them. I mean, for the most part, especially like for a content creator, if you're creating content that people enjoy, and at the very least, especially with people that, let's say, you are associating with, you being a genuine individual, and for the most part, when they need something, you're willing to help them. You're willing to give a little to those people. In a sense, yeah, sometimes it sucks, or at least to the extent where sometimes you may be pulled one direction where you're supposed to be, when you're being pulled another, let's say through work or doing content, but it's worth it. So that way you can keep the relationships you have, keep the influence that you have, as well as have a moral compass when it comes to how you deal with situations or how you are representing yourself as a influence to people who follow you.
Because they subconsciously don't realize that they want to be like you.
Greg, you saying that people want to be like you just gave me the creeps, and it'll be a cold day in hell where I want to be like you, a disgusting individual who has no morals whatsoever, and only to satisfy himself would change his morals at the drop of a hat. You have no moral compass, you have no allegiances, and in any situation, especially when it comes to trying to keep your image, you'll do whatever it takes to make yourself look good to the public. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Do you doing shit like this? The only people that are going to actually, consider you being right in this are your fans. The people that kiss up to you. But for the rest of the world that, sees you for the scumbag that you are, know that you are in the absolute wrong with some of the things you're saying.
It's not a matter of whether or not you're better than other people or not, but when you adopt this philosophy of self-service, you won't even have to debate it.
Well, now that he says that, I can see why Greg considers himself always right when it comes to the quote-unquote debates, when people ask him about allegations or questions about his bad behavior, and he belittles people online because they have a different opinion than him about his lack of morals.
That's what's great about life. Everyone's trying to think that they can find happiness in others, but they can't even find happiness in themselves. They say, how can you love others if you can't love yourself? The same goes for happiness. How can you make other people happy if you can't even make yourself happy?
I think the reason that people who are unhappy try to make other people happy is because at this point, especially people who have a kind heart, they genuinely are concerned about people that are not themselves. Ultimately, they push their happiness aside to the point where it's unbearable. You have people who, day to day, you have some people that will fake a smile, fake a laugh. And when their friends or family are in trouble, they do whatever they can to help them. And a lot of them, you know, they just struggle day to day. I mean, it's like, I heard this saying once where some of the happiest people are usually the ones that are the most miserable. Perfect example is probably people like Robin Williams, the comedian. And I know this is a controversial one, especially with what happened with the scandal with Channel Awesome. But apparently Juario, who, yes, I know of the allegations. I'm just going to say that to the people that knew him in life, he was a very happy individual. Watch one of Angry Joe's videos. I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to reference. Where he talked about how Juario was apparently a very happy individual. Somebody who constantly tried to help others, like before he could help himself. And with both of those situations, like Robin Williams or Juario, they both ended their lives because they were unhappy. Now, in a sense, my point, I should say, is sometimes, especially with the people who are very unhappy, if they have a kind heart, they usually will put their happiness aside to make others happy. I guess it's a matter of perspective, especially with like certain individuals, because as I've said before in my videos, people on this planet are different. Not one person is the same. But if I may say this, especially for Greg in his situations, all he's done is cause pain. The only person he's ever tried to please is himself. He hasn't pleased his exes. He hasn't pleased his friends. He hasn't done anything, it seems like, for his wife, now his husband or spouse. Everything that this man has done for his entire life, especially with all the evidence that has been pulled up over the years, he's only done to satisfy his own self-interest. Now, usually that's not a bad thing, but unfortunately, when you act as deplorable as Onision, with a lot of the stuff that he's done, you have no excuses at this point. You're only out there for yourself, and not for the people around you.
Nobody wants to hang out with a miserable, sad, pathetic person who is unhappy because they are completely incapable of putting a smile on their own face. So that is why you service yourself constantly. Because when you master making yourself happy, making others happy will be natural.
Let me ask you, Greg, how well has that worked out for you, where you constantly service yourself and not lay a finger for the people that you are supposedly supposed to care about? So far, the record shows that, it hasn't really worked out for you. You serving your self-interests, you pleasuring yourself, you feasting on your greed, your avarice, your gluttony, your lust. Now, I'm not trying to go political or biblical in a sense, but I mean, let's face it, that's all you focused on. Your greed, your pleasure for the female body. You've been wrathful towards people who have wronged you. You've done very despicable things to the people as well as the properties that you've owned. You are a deplorable individual who only thinks about himself and has never, it seems, cared for anyone other than yourself. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation, please leave it in the comments down below. Want to follow MJ, Magi, and Aden on gaming streams? Go check them out. If you want to follow us on social media, links are in the description. If you want to follow Sage for his nature walks, which is a lot of fun, go check that out. If you guys want to watch some of the other content that I produce, sometimes I upload between noon and 6 p.m. Pacific time. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. This is Rob of Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.